What It Look Like TV, we are back. Thank you for joining me. Hit that like, that subscribe button, do all the things that YouTubers want you to do for them. But anyway, on this one, we're going to get into the story out of Houston. My man that tried to rob the little taco restaurant and it didn't go his way. So let's check out the news story first, then we're going to come back, we're going to talk about it a little bit. Then we're going to get into the backlash from this event. Let's slide over and check the news event out.
Now to other breaking news as police say a customer at a taqueria shot and killed a man who had just robbed the shop's customers.
It happened just before midnight on South Gessner in southwest Houston. That's where we find our Ugochi Iloka live from this morning. Ugochi, we understand you just got a peek at surveillance video from inside that shop.
And Kimberly and Dave, as restaurant workers were showing us that surveillance video, you could tell they were still visibly shaken up. I mean, just look over here at the glass door. You can see the bullet holes. Very scary situation for everyone that was there inside. Thankfully, none of the customers, they tell us, were hurt. Different outcome, though, for the robbery suspect. Take a look in that surveillance video, which we obtained in the last hour. You can see a man dressed in...
Now, before we go any further, notice how my man came in the establishment and made the situation real from the beginning. He came in immediately putting a weapon in people's faces and taking money. So this situation was real as soon as he came through the door. You can say these guys are already running to jump underneath a table. The fear is real right now in 2023 because no one knows what anyone is capable of. So I just wanted to establish that early in the video. Let's continue on.
Black with a mask, pointing what customers thought was a gun. The man walks further inside, demanding money and wallets from customers.
These guys are so scared that they are underneath the table just throwing their money. You can tell when people are truly scared because they act in ways that don't make sense. There was no way the table or those plastic chairs was going to offer them any type of protection. They should have just sat there. But when the situation is real, you just react. This situation was real. Let's continue.
Then, as he was leaving, you see one of those customers jump up with their own gun. We've frozen that video, but we can tell you that he shot the suspect multiple times after watching it. In the end, HPD says the suspect didn't even have a real gun.
How was anybody in the restaurant to know that that wasn't a real gun? Do you think anybody in the restaurant would have been just handing their money over if they wouldn't have known that it was a real gun? Do you think those two gentlemen would have been hiding under the table if they didn't think that it was a real gun? Do you think that this grown man went and committed this act and didn't know that this was a possible outcome? I want you to sit and think about all those questions. Let's hear the rest of the news story, then we'll come back, chop it up, and then we'll get into the response.
The robbery suspect, he came into the store, he was wearing masks, gloves. He had a plastic pistol, either an airsoft or possibly a little BB pistol.
Now, the video also shows customers and that shooter leaving the scene after the shooting. HPD wants to talk to everyone who was here inside at the time when all of this happened. Steph, the workers tell us, the restaurant workers tell us their plan is to have the restaurant reopened in the next half hour, so around 7 a.m.
Okay, wow, a lot of layers to this.
They're not even going to take the day off. They're going to continue serving tacos. But did my man do it to himself? And one thing I want to mention, that before my man left, he gave all the people that got robbed their money back. But you would think that my man would be used as an example to deter other children or other young men, other adults from going this path. But it's been a little backlash. It's coming out that a lot of people think my man used a lot of overkill in the situation and that he didn't have to use as many bullets that he did in the situation. And that's a growing little dispute that they're having right now. So let's get into what the opposition is saying about this whole situation, because they want my man charged with something. So my man went from saving everybody's life in a real life situation to afterwards being the slash villain in the situation. So let's hear the opposition side out and see where they're coming from, and see if my man crossed any lines while he was being a hero, and try to get a little bit more clarity before we wrap this up.
Welcome, no sir, simply respect to you. We have come here collectively to make a couple of points about the killing that took place at this restaurant here in this parking lot a few days ago. One, we are not condoning the actions or the behavior of the perpetrator who was robbing the restaurant. He was absolutely wrong for what he was doing, and he deserved to go to prison for the robbery he was committing. That's one. So under no circumstances are we here saying that he should not have been punished. He deserved to be punished. Two, the quote-unquote Good Samaritan, he was within the law when he fired the first initial shots. But we believe he went from being a law-abiding citizen to a lawbreaker. When he walked up on that young man was no longer a threat to him. You have a right to use deadly force just so long as the person is no longer a threat to you. When he walks up on that young man was no longer a threat, and according to the witnesses, the gun had slid to the left of the young man's body. He stood over the young man and shot him multiple times over and over again when he was no longer a threat.
I just have one quick little response to that real fast. Just one quick little response to the whole what he could have did. In the heat of the moment, he doesn't know if that guy has another gun underneath his shirt. He doesn't know what the situation is. He could have panicked also and wanted to make sure the target was totally immobilized. You don't know what people are thinking, but you know that before it all went down, everybody in that room didn't know if they was going to make it out alive before the situation came to a conclusion. So I would just ask that you keep that in mind, sir, that I hear what you're saying, but it's no way to know in that moment that he's totally immobilized or if he's playing possum. Just playing fair ball all the way around.
In the head as he's leaving. Then he leaves and doesn't call 911. He doesn't wait for the police. He leaves the property. That man went from being a law-abiding citizen to now committing criminal acts and criminal crimes. We believe, and I believe, that he should be charged with something, because we cannot have a society where our citizens are judge, jury, and executioner. Based on that man's behavior, we don't need a criminal justice courthouse. We don't need judges. We don't need prosecutors. We don't need the police. We don't even need prisons. He went way too far. He had a right to defend himself. He had a right to protect himself. He had a right to use deadly force, but he went beyond that. And he stood over that young man and pumped bullets after bullets after bullets into him. That's overkill. That's no longer self-defense. So I believe that the Harris County District Attorney's Office should make sure that a grand jury returns a criminal indictment for some type of criminal charge in this case. Exactly what it's going to be and what it should be, I'm not sure. But I know for a fact this was not just a simple act of a good citizen defending himself. When he shot that young man, and that gun is slid to the side, and the young man was laying on the floor, no longer moving. He poses no longer any type of threat. There was no justification to walk up on him and pump multiple shots, then leave with the weapon and come back and shoot him in the head again. That's too much. That's overkill.
We're going to stop it right there because we got everything that we need. But one thing that I can say, to walk away and come back and deliver a headshot, that right there, I can agree with the overkill. That was a bit much. But did you do it to yourself? And if you did it to yourself, that's what I mean. These type things get tricky. These type things get very, very, very tricky. Because if you go looking to smell shit and you smell shit, is it really the public's fault? Or were you on a path to self-destruction and you felt it and you found the destruction? This one right here is a tricky one, because when I first read the story, I was applauding my man, but then when I got more of the details, I can see where people would see that it was a bit much, but I can see how people say you can't tell someone how to react once you cornered them or once you threatened them. You know what I mean? So on that note, I'm gonna need all y'all to hit me up in the comment section. Tell me how y'all feel about it, what y'all think. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't. And it's your man, Uncle Aaron. And I hope to check you on the